Chapter 6: The Chains of Guilt. Deagan landed hard, rolling across a surface that clanged like metal. His body screamed from the wounds of the last trial, burns still blistered, cuts still raw, his limbs trembling with exhaustion. Every breath felt like broken glass scraping his lungs, but he was alive. Barely. When he forced himself to his knees, the world around him slowly came into focus. It wasn't the endless wasteland he expected. It was a vast field of black iron, stretching into darkness. The ground was etched with patterns of scars, as if millions of chains had dragged across it over countless ages. Above, there was no sky, only a swirling mass of red and black clouds churning like liquid. Chains hung from them, thousands of them, swaying gently as if moved by an unseen wind. Each one ended with a hook, glinting faintly in the dim red glow. The air was still, yet heavy. It pressed against him, suffocating, as if the world itself wanted him to kneel. He took a step forward. The ground trembled. Chains erupted from the floor, wrapping around his ankles so fast he barely had time to react. They were cold at first, then searing hot, burning into his skin. He screamed, trying to tear them off, but they tightened, pulling him to his knees. More chains burst upward, coiling around his wrists, his waist, his throat. They dragged him down, pinning him against the cold metal ground. As they bound him, the whispers returned. Not the voices of demons this time, but the voices of people he knew, voices from his past, distorted and cruel. "You're worthless, Deagan. You let me die. You'll never change." The chains pulsed with each word growing tighter. He struggled, muscles straining, but the chains multiplied, layering over him, pressing him flat to the ground. They weren't just binding his body, they were pressing into his mind, forcing him to relive memories he wanted buried. The ground beneath him shifted, morphing into scenes from his past. He saw himself at 15, screaming at his mother. At 20, handing Riker the pills that killed him. At 23, walking away from Mara without looking back. Each memory became a chain, wrapping tighter, cutting deeper. His chest heaved. Stop it. But the chains only tightened, cracking his ribs. The pain was overwhelming, yet worse than the pain was the guilt, the weight of it crushing his soul. A voice, smooth and cold, slid through the air. "You cannot escape what you are, Deagan." The cloaked figure emerged from the shadows, gliding toward him. Its glowing eyes burned brighter than ever. "These are your chains. You forged them link by link with every sin, every failure, every life you destroyed." "I'm not," he coughed blood. "I'm not that person anymore." The figure knelt beside him, its hood inches from his face. "You are that person. You always will be. These chains are you." The chains burned hotter, smoke rising from his skin. His screams echoed into the void. The figure's voice dropped to a whisper. "Say the words, Deagan. Say you deserve this and it will all end." Through the agony, his mind flashed to the hospital, his mother crying, her voice pleading with him. "Please, baby, don't leave me." Tears streaked down his face, cutting through the soot and blood. "No, I'm not giving up. Not to you, not to this." The figure hissed, the sound like steam escaping a furnace. "Then suffer." The chains tightened further, but something inside him, some spark of will, refused to break. He roared, straining against them, his muscles tearing, his bones threatening to snap. The chains cracked. One link shattered, then another. Each time they broke, a surge of energy ripped through him, burning away the guilt. He screamed louder, the sound turning from pain to rage, until finally, with one last surge, he tore his arms free. The chains exploded outward, scattering like shrapnel into the darkness. The ground shook violently, splitting apart beneath him. The figure rose slowly, its voice calm but dripping with venom. "You think breaking these chains means you are free? Foolish boy, they will always return." Deagan staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his arms, but his eyes burned with defiance. "Then I'll break them every damn time." The figure raised an arm, and the remaining chains recoiled into the shadows. "You will wish you hadn't." The ground collapsed completely, swallowing him into the next layer of hell. Deagan plunged into the abyss, landing hard on his back. The impact drove the breath from his lungs, but before he could move, the chains returned, not as bindings this time, but as living things. They slithered across the floor like metallic serpents, their links clinking with a sick rhythm. The air was filled with the sound of grinding steel. The ground beneath him was no longer solid iron. It writhed, pulsing like a nest of snakes. The chains moved together, coiling, forming shapes, serpents with jaws of rusted hooks, bodies twisting endlessly. Their eyes glowed faintly red, and their movements were slow, deliberate, almost teasing. Deagan scrambled to his feet, but his legs were weak. Blood still ran from his wounds. His burns flared with every breath. The first serpent lunged. He dove aside, rolling across the sizzling floor just as the chain smashed down where he had been, embedding itself deep and pulling free with a screech. Sparks flew. Another whipped toward him, wrapping around his arm. The hooks tore his flesh as it pulled, trying to drag him down. He grabbed a jagged shard of metal from the ground and slashed at it with everything he had. The serpent recoiled, hissing in a voice like scraping nails. The ground erupted as 3 more shot up, surrounding him. "You can't escape yourself, Deagan," the voices hissed from the chains. "We are your sins, we are your lies, we are every life you destroyed." They lunged at once. Deagan spun, dodging one and driving the shard into another's neck, snapping a link. The creature shrieked, its body unraveling into black smoke. He ripped the chain free from his arm and swung it like a weapon, smashing it against the next serpent's head. The impact rang like a bell, sending vibrations up his arm. But the last one coiled around his torso, crushing him. The hooks dug deep, cutting through his ribs. He screamed, thrashing, but its grip only tightened. His vision blurred, black creeping into the edges. And then the world changed again. The serpent's coils melted away, and suddenly he was standing in a hospital hallway, bathed in flickering fluorescent light. The walls were stained with old blood, and the air smelled of rot. At the end of the hallway stood Riker, whole and alive, holding a bottle. His eyes were sunken, his smile hollow. "Come on, Deagan, one more night, one more hit, you know you want to." Behind him, Mara appeared, her face pale and hollow, eyes bleeding black tears. "You'll never change, just stay here with us. Stop pretending." His mother emerged last, hands clasped, tears streaking her cheeks. "You let me down, baby. You always let me down." The voices overlapped, screaming at him, accusing him. The hallway stretched infinitely, their words bouncing off the walls, cutting into his skull. Deagan dropped to his knees, hands over his ears. "Stop, I'm not that person anymore." The vision flickered, cracking like glass. The serpent's coils returned, tightening. The voice of the cloaked figure whispered directly in his mind. "Liar, you will always be this." With a roar, Deagan grabbed the chain crushing his chest and tore it apart link by link, blood pouring down his arms. The serpent screamed, its body writhing violently before exploding into black smoke. The other chains hissed, retreating into the shadows. The floor trembled, the walls of the chamber cracked. From the fissures rose a blinding red light. The cloaked figure stepped through it, its glowing eyes burning brighter than ever. "You broke your chains, but each one you shatter feeds us." Deagan staggered to his feet, his body torn and bleeding but his voice steady. "Then I'll starve you to death." The figure tilted its head. "Arrogant, every victory costs you something. What have you lost already, Deagan? Can you feel it?" He realized with a chill that he could. Something deep inside him felt missing. A piece of himself had been burned away, replaced by cold. "You are being hollowed out," the figure whispered. Soon, there will be nothing left to save. Deagan glared. We'll see about that. The figure stepped back into the red light, and the ground collapsed beneath him once more.